Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is, how do you let go of a bad relationship, especially a relationship that has been wrought with manipulation? Someone who is trying to use you for their own ends. They don't really care about you. They don't really have a future. They just seem to be taking from you. And also really sort of this underhanded approach where they tend to lie or just sort of disrespect you. And the subtle disrespect is something very important to understand because this will eventually corrode your sense of strength and your confidence, otherwise known as your identity and your I am, what you see yourself becoming, doing, feeling, going, etc. So that's your identity. It's your sense of self, particularly as it resonates with your sense of strength versus weakness, trust versus distrust of self, autonomy, which is the ability to sort of govern independently, or whether you have this external focus or locus of control. An external locus of control basically means that there is some situation that is outside of yourself that you are allowing to define you, your success, and your sense of failure. You are not defined by this erroneous or flawed thinking. Someone who is a manipulator, someone who is trying to use you to their own ends, someone who is cutting corners with you, someone who is lying, someone who is trying to keep you in that fear or uncertainty state. Fear is very isolating, and so people find and discover themselves to be very off track, really where they feel that they are capable of. So they begin to feel a gap between their potential and where they're at currently. This becomes a gap. So you need to get back in alignment with really your aligning with your potential. This is empowerment. It's your I am. It's a positive sense of self, which is oftentimes contrary and contradictory to a flawed sense of self that someone who is really a pathological manipulator will reflect back to you. Chronic and ongoing criticism, judgment will serve as that external locus of control. In other words, you have to please me. You are not good enough. This is not good enough. If you feel it inside, I can do better. This is an internal locus of control. But if someone is abusive, pushy, aggressive, someone who is manipulative, who, basically views you as an object, and they are viewing you as basically an obstacle, if you are sort of in proximity, I just kind of use that word meaning basically close in location, meaning around. So you might be living with this person, working, it might be a neighbor, it might be someone in your community, it might be a previous relationship. But when you have gone through this, how do you get your sense of self and certainty back? How do you recover this wholesome and authentic and strong sense of I am? Realize that the chronic criticism is a manipulative tool. It creates an external locus of control where then you become easily manipulated by others. It sets you up really for lack of confidence and lack of self-esteem and loss of autonomy and really emotional independence, because every day can then carry the seeds of doubt. Every day can carry the seeds of fear on the wind. Every day can send the fear that you can get a bad look, a bad judgment, a bad grade, a bad criticism, somebody yelling at you, fighting you, breaking you down. These people will break you down and see, I told you, you are too weak. They will distract you and say, look, you're out of focus. These are the people who create the very engineered chaos so that they can prove themselves right. So it's a very deliberate and maniacal sense of manipulation, which is based on their sort of playing God, playing your authority, playing your judger. So this is known as in psychology as an external locus of control. So if people don't really feel that they're owning their I am, they're owning their confidence, they're owning their independence, they're owning their best self, it's usually because they're still under the guise, the confusion of this external locus of control, which are the people who will seek to control through anger, through hostility, through aggression, through guilt, through shame, through the looks, through repeated criticism. It is not constructive. It is disconstructive or destructive, deconstructive, which means contrary to building, growing, and constructive, productive, which is a positive. They will tear it down almost like emotional vandalism. You try to make 2 steps forward, they try to bring you 4 steps back. And you can't give in to this pressure. It is really just a pressure to conform. And a lot of people have their sense of survival based on appeasing this. This is different from just like the social norms. Did you stop at the stoplight? Did you pay for your groceries? Did you pay your taxes? Did you, this is not, an external locus of control like normal rule abiding, reality. We're talking about people who will try to set up a judgment trap around you. So you will always be hanging your head low and then really basically out of commission, out of sorts, really in a intoxicated state of fear, which really dismantles the thinking system, the ability to think coherently. It's very difficult to think and plan and dream for your future if you are in a fear and anxious state. Sure, a little bit is good when you're pumped up, enthusiastic, excited. Hey, I'm going to make it happen now. You've just got enough leverage over yourself. It has to be internal though. Otherwise, you are priming yourself for what is known as an external locus of control, which then creates this sort of people pleasing, living a lie, living for others, becoming a doctor when you are an Indian chief, becoming an Indian chief when you are a doctor, pressure to become a business owner when you are a gardener. I mean, just in other words, it's a pressure to become something other than what you are not. This is a narcissistic need. This is when narcissists view others as extensions of themselves and are too threatened for people to be themselves, because the narcissist, really feels that they need to be around other high status individuals. Once again, it's a great idea to be around great leaders, great thinkers, but there's an ego base to this. It's to appear as if. It's the old show off. It's let me, and again, there's nothing wrong with being happy. There's nothing wrong with talking about your recent adventures, your recent purchases, your recent conquests, your recent great books, feeling good about yourself. I just made an amazing pot of chili. I just grilled up the best steak I've ever had in my life. I mean, all these different things you should be able to gloat and express about yourself and then hopefully share. But a manipulator will seek to create an external locus of control which renders you hopeless and feeling helpless and disempowered, otherwise known as weak and codependent, based on their approval. You need to sort of be able to grow out of this, especially if you've been surrounded and inoculated this for a long period of time. And oftentimes the approval is to meet their needs and has nothing to do with being supportive of you. You really have to understand the difference and get super, super clear about what this is. So oftentimes you have to sort of look back or regress or sort of do the inner work and look at and understand what is your internal locus of control, and being able to locate this if you have not located this in some time, or for you to be able to be empowered was not permitted. I mean, this is just what goes on. This is what goes on in narcissist businesses, organizations, families, marriages. They will keep you separated from that which is your true calling, your true self, your authentic self. And it's because if they can weaken you, it automatically makes them stronger. Do you see how this is a two for one deal for a narcissist? If they can abuse you or give you a flawed mirror back because of a lack of empathy, they're always sort of hung up on your appearance. You know, if you don't look good, I don't look good. It's just sort of their situation. In other words, if you're normal, you make me look abnormal. If you're okay, you make me look not okay. Usually because there's a lot of self-serving, attention-seeking behavior that this person will live by. This person loves to live in the spotlight, the limelight, have everybody going ooh, ah, or whatever. These are the people who thrive on that. This is their lifeblood. Lady Gaga, I'll live for the applause, the applause. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, I'm just trying to let you know, there's some things that are very intrinsically rewarding, but it is not beneficial to you if someone is trying to devalue and discard you because you don't meet up to making them look good, because oftentimes there's a basis of truth that they don't want to deal with, they don't need to deal with, they don't want to look at within themselves. So bye-bye, you're going to become a scapegoat, you're going to become judged, you're going to become chronically criticized, nothing on the daily. I mean, it becomes, if people are not criticized daily, it becomes twice daily, 3 times daily. 5 times a week, 10 times a week, it does, So do you see how this can become excessive and extreme? To back it off and live in your I am, you have to give yourself permission to not live in extremes anymore, to embrace the road of moderation. Oftentimes this path was blocked up and bordered up by a narcissist or a psychopath. That leads to reality. That leads to truth. That leads to wholesomeness. That leads to integrity, So no, they're not going to go there. They're going to, come join me on the dark side. Come join me on the wild side. What was that song? Take a walk on the wild side. Oh, well, wouldn't that make me cool? Well, you know what? You don't make a good bad boy if you're not a bad boy. You don't make a good bad girl if you're not a bad girl. You really will not become a strong, secure, confident person until you become and embrace yourself, your I am. Oftentimes you have to really sort of stop listening to the chronic criticism or judgment that is at the rolling off the lips of a narcissist or a psychopath who seeks to discourage you and just sort of keep you under their thumb in a very dependent state. Why would they do that? Because it's just an outlet for them. It promulgates their ego, which is their, source of, the ego is always based on judgment. I am better than you. I have more power than you. I am more than you. I am outsmarting. I am more talented. And so, it's like, kicking a dog and then saying, you're a pretty good companion. I mean, it becomes a manipulative, and it creates a source of suffering and pain and a corruption of I am and identity. So you have to reclaim and recover that space, kind of like an internal garden that had been blocked up, boarded up. You have to take away all the dingy darkness. Maybe it had been, feeling isolated in the fear, and it's in a scary place, like in a place where you don't want to go, deep in the woods where you don't want to live, under the bridge, in the basement, in the outhouse. I mean, where have people had to live rough or feel that their life was rough for how long a period of time? enough is enough. It's okay to not give in to their criticism and their judgment. You have to get sort of an internal median. They're going to think and behave their way. You're going to think and behave in your way, which is self-supportive and self-validating, which is incorruptible to the criticism and the false accusations that come with narcissism, that come with trying to control you through fear. You've done something wrong and you don't know what it is. I mean, this is just textbook classic manipulation. Don't fall for it. Think for yourself. And oftentimes, even not thinking is better than overthinking always about the narcissist, because then you're coming into your own. You can live in your own skin and you can recover a sense of strength, autonomy, and independence that can think clearly. And then you might have good cause to, change jobs, change departments, change marriages, change families, move, whatever moving on means for you. You have to become decisive and really nurture that I am, but you might need to get some strength up first. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. You might feel that you are regressing or going backwards. You might have some sort of internal soggy moments. You might feel lost and before you reclaim. You might feel in the dark before it gets better. But begin to say no to and be able to stop absorbing the negativity as your reality. Stop absorbing their frustration, their anger, because they're at a bad place in their life. Don't take it on as your own. This is not what being supportive in a relationship is. I think a lot of people who are early on in the relationship with someone who is narcissistic or really controlling by these very self-serving people is that they stop just sort of owning their objective reality, and they feel that they can't answer things for themselves. So they just take on this very painful, dependent state to be supportive only of others and their outcome and their wellness. So don't feel guilty by backing off and taking care of yourself to being I am, and to be able to see what situations are for the way that they are. It's okay to know what you're talking about. It's okay to say no to, I'm not going to fall prey to false accusations. I'm not going to fall on my face. It's a very important thing, because there becomes a period of time where people get tested, and it's like, will you fall for it, or can you think and go, no, I'm not falling that easy. I'm not going to do this for this person. I'm not going to betray, I'm not going to go against my own values for this person, even if they try to get you into it, whatever the manipulation is. Let's do this here. Let's spend this on that. Why don't you just let me spend the night? No, I have to work. I mean, these sort of things where you can usually think yourself through, and once you make your statement, if they don't listen and respect, then they don't listen and respect. And that should tell you everything you need to know. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Have a beautiful day.